2025 SEO Explained. What are SEO, AIO, GEO, AEO, and SXO? Those are very many O's to begin with, right? And I feel like at some point you also want to understand what you're even looking at in the first place. So that is why I decided that this, and I even, before I even say this, before I start any episode or start any topic, I listen to what everyone is talking about. Because before I speak, I listen. I can't just come here and give you random topics. That's going to waste your time. And I don't have time to waste time or yours at all. And I want to make sure that any time you spend here is invested in knowledge, because the We Don't Play podcast show is where you listen, you live, you learn, and you also earn. You don't just earn in dollars, you earn in thought, in leadership, in substance, in value, in a lot of things that really give you that long-term effect. So we're going to, invite you up. If you have any questions, please feel free to connect with us today. Hey, Trisha, how are you? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Favour. Thank you for the invite to the room.
You are welcome. You're welcome. Glad to have you here. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, good. You're not gonna believe this. I was clicking over to go somewhere else, and your little notification popped up, and it brought me in. And I was like, "Hey, okay, I'll stick around."
Yeah.
so, so what are we talking about? SEO explained. Nice.
Yes, we are. We're talking about SEO, AIO, GEO, AEO, and SXO because these sound like Greek right now to a lot of people because like we thought SEO was it and now everybody's coming up with these other types. It's like, what is going on? And I wanted us to just break it down and make sure you understand exactly what they all mean and why they're here. So that's why I wanted to, have this room
Oh
today.
wait, hold on. We gotta wait. Big shout out to Peter. Peter, what's up? How you doing?
What's good, Peter? Peter just sneaked in. He's like, let me see what's going
Whoop,
on here.
Uncle
It's a
Tom.
powerhouse. It's a powerhouse today. Okay, last day of the month. Hey, Peter. Hey, John.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome.
Nice to see you, John, too. It's been a while.
Let's go. And you said all those letters. I was like an elemental P too. Okay, let's do it.
I love that. That's the cue for the day. What's the cue for the day? The question for the day is what are all these terms and why are they even here? So I'm really excited about this topic today. Wanted to say hello to you, John. How are you? Good afternoon.
I'm good, thank you. Hope you're having a great day. Great last day of June, and I'm working on audio, so I'm trying my best to multitask, and I usually a complete failure at that.
No worries. We're going to be here. We'll make sure that these next 40 minutes are well done and, we can cover a lot, in a short time so you can also understand it. So thank you so much for being here. Good afternoon, Jamila. I see you in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Dima, Zach, Denzel, Marcus, Azamat, Shauna, Babaku, Abba, Troy, Karim, Trisha, Emmer, Jason, as well as Mrs. Christine, Audrey, LaShawn, and Yash, you're all welcome to the Marketing Club. This is a club that we're over 351.8K members actively. So this is a great space where we just, connect and we do a lot of discussions and we do a lot of topics. Tomorrow we're going to talk about, ready to dominate AI search results. As you explained, it's going to be tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. Central. So I bring these rooms and talk about these topics because I get feedback. For example, when I talked about Pinterest last week, yes, last week, because it's a new week, I talked about Pinterest SEO and an SEO digital marketing specialist from the UK sent me a LinkedIn request and she made a note. And I was surprised. She's like, "Oh, I checked. I was looking for Pinterest, topics experts, and I found your podcast." And she did her own research because she's like SEO to SEO, and it was so exciting to see that somebody all the way from the UK connected with me on LinkedIn off a podcast episode on a topic that we discussed here on Clubhouse. So it got me thinking, I said, okay, I need to bring more discussions like this because people are listening. Like the podcast, the We Don't Play podcast show now is ranked at 0.5% in 147 countries with over 500 episodes. And when I see this kind of immense feedback through LinkedIn, through search, through social, through discovery, I know through the Explore, I know that these are questions that people are asking. And I'm so glad I'm not going to be the only one talking about this because I know John and Peter are also amazing at this. And I want them to also share their thoughts on what you're seeing because we want to hear different things. We don't want to just say one thing because it's still early. It's still very early, so we can't really say this is it. But what we see is what we're going to show you and what we're going to tell you. Especially like even with Google just, I don't know if you may not have heard this, but there's also like a new Google algorithm called Movera. I don't know if you've heard of it, Muvera. So, and it was also talked about and that's something that is so new. So I'm just saying these words so that when you hear them, you're not surprised by like what's going on, but these are things that are actively happening. So that when you're also looking at the way the algorithm is moving, how Google, Microsoft, they're all building into their system, you can also learn about it. So I like to do research. And as I also do research, I like to bring the research here. What's the name of the podcast? It's called We Don't Play. And if you click on my profile, just hit my face, and then when you hit that, you'll see the links, and it'll say and 7 more. So when you click on my face, you'll see all the links. There. I have about 8 links accessible. You can click on any of them, and it will take you there too. You're welcome. I'm also going to put the link to the research topic I just brought up today, so we can all check these things out and do our own research, but also understand where we're going in the future, because it's also going to help us understand how to apply these concepts when we start thinking about content. What are we using the content for? Which content pieces are also actually being searched for, and which ones are actually being connected to, the search algorithm base. So if you're creating content on social media, how much time are you spending? And is that generating enough time for you to get back after you've done the whole process of, I can say, like programmatic SEO, or just positioning yourself in a way that you're the authority in your niche so that when things are responded to, you're also answering the same question. So I'm going to put the link in the chat, but I'm going to get the link. It's not even pasting from my clipboard, but once I get it in the clipboard, I'll put it in the chat so you can all get it. But it was from Search Engine Journal, so that you guys can also, hear about that too. But before we go into this deep, topic of today, John or Peter, have you heard of Movera? Have you seen it, and have you seen what's going on?
I have not seen that yet. I know there was a update, but that's a new name for me. Honestly, I've been so busy just in the trenches, doing the basics, that I have not seen that yet. So, and the reason I say doing the basics is because doing the basics still is always key. So, but yeah, let me. I'd love to hear more about it.
I love that. Yeah, definitely. Basics are very important for sure. Peter, what about you? Have you heard of it?
Um, my understanding is just it's a more effective model for multi-vector, um, um, but it's still just a semantic model. So we're still doing the same things. It's just a more efficient way for Google to actually rank us more accurately.
Exactly. Thank you, Peter. Yes, that's the best way to even put it because, there are so many names you're going to hear: Bert, mom. It starts getting very confusing, like these words already, and like it's already confusing as it already is. But just simply making sure that your website is compliant, you have all your DNS records serving the right triggers, you're doing things correctly, and it's authenticated, you're connected and you're integrated to the right system, then you should totally be fine. So thank you for that feedback, Peter. And I'll put the link in the chat once this link starts to paste, but I have the link ready for you today as well. So let's talk about this. And before we do, Jason, thanks for being here. Do you want to say hello to us? Question, contribution, what you're thinking, what's going on? Welcome. Good afternoon.
Oh, sure. I always appreciate, I think you're one of the most advanced in this, if not the most. So I always appreciate getting up to speed. So yeah, no, I wanted to hear the content, and then I do have a question after. But no, I'm just listening, get educated, and then I'll ask a question after you deliver the material because I'm trying to stay up to speed. But yeah, no, I'm listening and playing basketball at the same time.
Love that. Love that. Basketball. That's dope. That's dope. I love that. Awesome. All right. So we're going to talk about this 2025 SEO explained. What are SEO, AIO, GEO, AEO, and SXO? Like, what are these things? And why do these things even matter? And what's really going on? And then we're going to break it down and really understand these things so that you're also looking at it from the long term perspective. And it's like it's becoming a new thing, but we also want to make sure that we're also understanding what it is. So I'll start off with SEO, which is what everyone knows. And thank you, Trisha, for writing it down. Yes, we don't play podcasts. You can go to we don't play podcast.com if you want to listen to the show. SEO is search engine optimization. So it's just another way of saying, can I read this book? Like, I have eyes and there's a page. Can this page be read with my eyes? And can I understand what I'm reading through the sequence? So if that applies to your page, then that means that algorithms, bots, search engines can be able to look at your content, read through it, and context base it on information that people are searching within the discovery channels. That way you're able to now have correct structure on how you're able to receive feedback. So if I'm looking for milk, and then somebody else is looking for milk cartridges, or somebody else is looking for milk vendors, or someone's looking for milk maybe let's say ways to cook, or let's say bake a cake with milk, and I'm looking for the best milks to use for baking. That's a completely different semantic. So when you now use the same seed keyword but it's changed within different scenarios, that's where SEO comes into play, because you're a business, your product, your service, you're an e-commerce, your service-based, product-based, small business, medium-sized enterprise. Anything that you're doing is going to be focused on those things. And simply what SEO is supposed to do is just to position you in that place where action is taking place. Because when you think about SEO, the focus of SEO is focused on these three things. One, it needs to be crawled. After crawling, it needs to be indexed. And after index, it needs to be ranked. Now, just like us, when we're young, when we're growing older, we're getting better. We're about to turn 1 year old, and we're now crawling. Before we crawl, we're gonna walk. We're gonna fall. We walk again. We fall. Now we can walk on 2 feet. We can now start running. That's literally SEO, because when you start a website from scratch, Google does not know you. Microsoft does not know you. Nobody on the web knows you. Not even ICANN knows you. ICAN, and you're not even within that system for you to have, like I said, authority. It's just like saying, if you don't have a credit card or if you don't have credit, then there's no report to pull from. So that's the same thing Google can't do or Microsoft can do, because there's nothing to pull from your domain property, which hasn't been connected to your DNS server. Your DNS is a domain name server. So it's serving information off the records on your domain to give information about your website, which is in form of an NAP, name, address, phone number. So even when you think about an address, it's not just your actual address, but it's also the address of your URL, your uniform resource locator. So if it's https://www.yourdomain.com, and somebody else is the same thing without the www, then that's going to be that canonical tag that's going to be looked at as the preferred name. So when you see CNAME, it's canonical name. When you see cPanel, it's control panel. So when you look at these words and you look at the long form version of these words, it makes more sense, because SEO is simply for you to crawl, meaning that if this information is new and I just published it 2 seconds ago, can it be crawled? Yes. If it can be crawled, it means that the context from page to page within a HTML scan can also be parsed through something called an XML file. So a podcast has RSS feed, which is really simple syndication, and a website is XML, which is expandable markup language. So the expandable markup language is why you see the black text. It looks like it's unstructured, but it's actually structured from within. So when you look at the structured data that is now given into different things, the priorities, date modified, just like you have your website or you have your computer would say last added, last modified, last created, date added, date modified. Those are things that you're seeing on your Windows or your Mac, because those are things that you have created folders for. So when you take that same analogy, that's why when you have a website, it's kind of like you have a phone, right? If you run out of storage, you're going to get cloud storage. So the way you name your storage files is going to be the same, either or, local or cloud. So when you do the same thing with your website, you're also connecting your website to servers. So when you have a website, SEO is where it starts from crawling. Because if your website can't be crawled, you can't be indexed. If you can't crawl, you can't walk. So it's the same analogy. So when you look at SEO from that one-to-one analogy perspective, it has a much better response. Because when you look at SEO is just simply saying, okay, can I be seen for what I'm known for? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, where? Is it on the map? Is it on the web? Is it on images? Where can we see these things? And are we also connected? So that's really how we're going to start thinking about SEO for 2025, because most people are thinking, oh, is SEO dead? No, it's not going anywhere. Just like people say, is email working? It's working. Is you not working the platform? We just moved a client from Kit to Flowdesk today because she's getting uh, super low click rates. Like her highest ever was like 5%, where we get on average at least 50 to 70% click rate with Flowdesk because of Amazon SES, which is simple email services. So when you start looking at the technical setup of these big platforms we keep calling today, but looking at them from the one-to-one, can this thing be received? Can signal be sent? Can signal be received? It's like a message in a bottle. If that message in that bottle doesn't get to the destination, was the message read, or was the message ignored, or was the message failed? There's going to be a prompt. There's going to be a response. There's going to be a reaction for every action cost. So when you're thinking about crawling your page, what are you crawling on your page? You're crawling text, you're crawling context, you're crawling links, internal links and external links, your alternative text, your tables, which is in HTML. You're doing infographics. Those are in images. Those images have file names. Those file names have sizes. Those sizes have extensions. Like, it sounds like a lot of work, but when you really look at the house, just like everything in your house, this is here, this is here. That's the same way your house should be online. So when SEO is structured from within, then when you now connect to Search Console and you turn the lights on, it's not a problem. The reason why people start getting those error messages is because you set up a website, you build it, and then when you start getting error messages, this is a broken page, this is a duplicate page, this page is not working, it's blocked by our robots txt. You start noticing a lot of things. You're like, okay, I built a website, yes, but why am I getting all these errors? It's because the technical setup of the website had not been SEO friendly. It's not SEO friendly because yes, you had a canvas, but now let's say you connect it to a source. Now you have all these plugs because now the lights are on. Now you can really see what's going on under the hood. Before, you just had a clickable link, which you could send through email, you could send through anywhere, but you're not tracking anything. There's no Google Tag Manager, there's no Google Search Console, there's no Bing Webmasters tools, there's no Microsoft Clarity. Even if you can go to the extent of having Matomo Analytics, if you want to do that, you're not getting these very specific keywords that you can find through your sitemap, which is technically the brain of your website, that's going to allow your website to crawl successfully. So when you crawl your website through SEO, you're technically creating an extension where you're saying, here's my website, and I want to also be on google.com. Just like with a podcast. If you have a podcast and you say, hey, I'm on Pandora, it's because you're on pandora.com. But if you're not on Pandora.com, you can't say you have a podcast on Pandora. Yes, you have a podcast. Yes, you have a website. But is it seen on those platforms that you're also attributing to? So when you start looking at SEO, it's not just about where you live or how you live on the web. It's where else can you live that is not where you can control. Meaning that backlinks would have to be a very big thing. If you have backlinks, that's a great thing because backlinks, people say how buy backlinks, don't buy them, earn them. You have to earn backlinks. That's why I'd rather get earned impressions than paid impressions. But I would also need paid impressions to drive conversions. but at the same time, you can still drive organic conversions through organic impressions. So it's how you're able to put it together. And right now, especially with GEO, which we'll come to, generative engine optimization, a lot of companies are not doing that right now. I think Neil Patel just did a study on this. I think was it today or yesterday, and he talks about it. And I saw that, I was like, yeah, it's true, because people are not optimizing for these searches. Yes, you're ranking on ChatGPT because of a certain keyword, but are you intricately connected? Right? I talked about this platform the other day, Ethio, and then I used to say it like that till I met the actual developer, and it's called Ethio. I'm meeting them tomorrow. I connected with them through LinkedIn, and this guy's all the way in India. And you're looking at LLM from a completely different landscape. People are not ranking, you're not tracking, you don't know what's going on. Now there's going to be Google AI mode, which is available. And then on the Search Console, very soon, you're going to start seeing AI overview analytics. So we're coming to a time when AI is becoming very, very, very important to us. And if we don't use multimedia formats of optimizing, it's going to be different. Companies are reducing their budgets on blogs. Go check the research. They're reducing the budgets on blogs and increasing the budget on audio and video production, because audio and video production is going to create conversations that brands are going to use for influential marketing purposes, for PR, public relation purposes, and for sales and lifetime customer value. So when you start looking at companies starting their own podcasts, there are companies that have podcasts, and because they use that for PR purposes. That's why they wouldn't have to spend so much money on ads, because if they spend money on ads, they have organic and earned impressions, because they've already answered those frequently asked questions in form of a voice. If you're asking Siri, Alexa, Google, and you expect them to respond back to you, I also believe that you should also be able to find a way to also connect your voice through the algorithm so that you can also be that respondent for that question in form of a link. Because when you ask ChatGPT a question or ask Siri a question, you're always going to get a citation. That's going to be the first thing you're going to get, according to, based on, here's from, you're going to get a citation. And that citation is coming up from a domain. And that domain is coming from our website, and specifically a web page. So if your web page is on Spotify and you have a podcast topic answering a question about a frequently asked question, and that same question is in form of an article that is hosted on your website, and that website is crawled, indexed, and ranked on the search engines, then automatically you have at least a way to go. You're not in the lead, but at least you have a way to go. At least you can say, okay, who's ahead? What can I do? How can I make this happen? And it takes time. It's not just an overnight success. SEO is one of the things that is a long-term game, but it's one of the most appreciated as it's like index funds. It's like you're growing something that you know is not going to germinate eventually, immediately, but you know that as you're progressing, you're one step ahead, you're one step further. You're not stuck, you're not on a status quo, and you're also not losing either. You're gaining more than you're losing. So if you're looking at it from a seasonal standpoint, right now we're in July. If you wrote any article on your website by this time last year, or you had any promos you had this time last year, go back to those articles, go write them again or update them, because at this time last year, questions that you answered about information that you provided is being asked again by new people and people who asked you the same question last year that never interacted with you. So you have an opportunity to do it again. But if you're doing it again, you have to really create it. Right now, Pinterest, I had a meeting with my team just an hour ago. We talked about this. Pinterest, just giving you guys some quick updates. Pinterest is going to create their own, it's like their own sandbox in a way, because the algorithm of Pinterest is called Pixie, Pixie, right? So with Pinterest, when you're looking at Pinterest search, Google search, Pinterest lens, Google lens, Pinterest just merged with Amazon. So Amazon now, if you have an Amazon affiliate link, and if you're an Amazon influencer, you can make sales through Amazon by having your blogs hosted on Pinterest that are parsed as an RSS feed from your website. So when you think about claiming your content on Pinterest, claiming your content on a podcast, claiming your content through your website, you're adding to your DNS record. You can go to Digger Tools, Digger.tools. It's a site you can check any domain. and check your DNS records for free. Go to Digger Tools. I'm giving you these tools because it's how you're going to use these tools. There's no excuse in 2025 to really make sure that you can get these words out of there. Because when you have SEO backed up like this, then you move strategically, right? You can make one post that can literally send the whole tidal wave for the whole week because you did it strategically, right? But if you don't do it, it's like you're just shooting in the blind. You're just shooting at the dark because now you have a target. You're like, okay, I'm going to aim at this bullseye, but it's not working because your eye is not even connected to that bull that you're looking at or you're trying to perceive. So when you're creating content for all these terms you're seeing today: SEO, AIO, GEO, AEO, SXO. They're happening at the same time. So don't think that, oh, I got to do SEO, and then I got to do AIO, and then I got to do GEO, and then I got to do AEO, and then I do SXO. No, all of them are happening at the same time. The major difference is that all of them are happening within different parameters. So SEO is where it all begins. It starts off with having the foundation because your domain is a foundation. If you have a podcast, the podcast is going to ask you, what's your podcast website? If the website of the podcast is a Podbean or Buzzsprout, or a website is not your domain and it's a subdomain of something that's not your directory or your access point, then you can't get that full exposure. But when you put your domain, that puts your domain ahead, and you're claiming your property. That's why when they say claim your website, you're claiming it because you're adding it to your DNS records. When you add your website to Google Search Console, there's number 3, it's always saying txt, add this txt record. It will say Google site verification dash, then it will give you a unique identification code. Just like you have an ID card, that's your unique identification code, right? So when you look at your website, it's a unique identification code. So that code is going to be printed into your DNS. It's kind of like into your DNA, because if you think about DNS and DNA, it's kind of like the same thing because everybody has a unique DNS record. Everybody has a unique DNA. So when you look at this from a scientific standpoint, you're looking at it from, okay, I have a website. I have topics. I have content. I have pictures. I have videos. I have images. I have topics. Okay, what are the topics people are asking and how do I know what they're asking makes sense? So when you know that these questions are frequently being asked, then you're going to answer those questions in form of those styles. Then when you answer them, now you give it time for it to grow, because in the season, if we're in the season of, ripe fruits, like ripe pineapples are in season, then that's what everyone's going to be having. If they're not in season, that's not what everyone's thinking about. So when you start thinking about what people are thinking about when they're thinking about you, then the way you're going to grow is how they're going to answer those questions. So how are you going to know those questions? I talked about Ethio. Go to ethio.co. Go check out, put your website there and see what questions people are asking about your website, because you're going to get other competitors like you. You might find competitors, you might not. We've had clients we've worked with, they didn't have competitors because they have a unique value proposition. We have some that actually are relative because they're in the product entertainment industry, or they're within that industry that is specific to their niche. So wherever you go, you're always going to find something that you can pivot to, right? They're the leaders, there's the top 3, there's the high visibility, there's the low visibility, and then there's no visibility at all. So when you look at these things from head to toe, you want to start creating these examples and start giving a much larger, broader explanation on this. So before I go any further, wanted to know if you have any questions. And also, Peter, I would like to pass it to you on to ask, if you have anything you'd like to add or to mention that probably I didn't cover.
Sorry, I was not close to my phone. Nothing to add. I'm enjoying that. Unless there's something specific you want to talk about.
Yeah, I would say, like, what would you see? Let me even ask this question. Like right now, we're about to hit the second half of the year. Where do you see, just looking at 2025 as it already is, by looking at the way it could look like in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months from now, SEO wise, what are you seeing in your world?
Yeah, I have no idea where it's going to land. I think I think it's different concerns for different people. I know that there's a lot of folks that are just concerned that with all the AI, Google's going to completely obliterate search as a channel, but I don't think they're going to do that. it's just making it harder for people to do search engine optimization. For me, the biggest challenge in the last year and a half has been getting accurate attribution for my different marketing channels with all the privacy rules. So that's really, for me, that's my biggest concern, is just trying to actually be able to say, I did this and I produced something, and know exactly what action produced that result, or what channel that result was in. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's my biggest struggle right now.
Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, it's a big thing, and honestly, you're welcome, Megs. Yeah, I put the link in the chat for those who want to, see that ethio.co, so you can see for yourself as well. You're right, Peter, because right now with AI, there's so much going on, and authenticity is the biggest thing. And I feel like SEO, with all these terminologies, someone's just gonna really just break it down into one thing. And the way I'm feeling or seeing things, it's gonna be like by 2030, yeah, we might still be saying SEO, but we'll be, because there's gonna be a lot of AI and bots and robots involved and all these things, it's gonna be more of thought leadership. That's where I see SEO going, because when you have thought leadership, you also have thought ownership. And that thought ownership means now you'd have to build into assets that, like you were saying about control, quality control too, authenticating your content and actually verifying that it's your content by justifying it through evidence. So it's going to be a whole different thing now, but I believe it's possible. I don't know the future, only God does, but I know that the way we're going, we're definitely moving in a very good direction, which I believe is going to help us have more ownership, and also knowing that we're moving to Web3, which not many people are talking about still. And I think that's something that we can definitely be excited about, but still also be patient, but also vigilant too, so that we're also not caught by surprise. Thank you for that question, Peter. Yes, Jason, you have a
Yeah,
question too. I saw in the chat.
yes, I thought it was a good time to ask because you mentioned about your clients that don't have competitors. I I'm trying to learn all the new things, so I do optimize my site just as best practice. But I don't really have competitors. Just don't really. I've never like I've been doing I started my first web design company in high school in 1996, and then I did Microsoft site in 98 and 99. And even then, the webmaster was like, "Oh, are you doing a search?" Like by the time I actually optimize these things, I'm normally like on to the next thing. Like now, I'm making songs with AI. I'm going to be doing videos. Like nobody really has ever. I've never really benefited from somebody doing a search because if your offering is unique and you're very advanced, is like, is anybody searching for Jeff Bezos with a search, or do they know about the company? Like in the same way, my thing is very unique. I meet people that are advanced like you. It's not from a search, like it's normally from this, like social media or something advanced, or So I just do. What's the value for besides best practice? What's the value for the clients you have that don't have any competitors and are really like doing their thing where they don't have people like really searching for them? I don't like by the time somebody that would be searching for me, like I already retired, like so I don't know. I guess what is the value for those clients you have that don't have competitors?
Great question. Great question. So this is something that we've actually been doing a study on for some time now. And with this specific company, they're actually even licensed. They're the only licensed it's within the real estate segment, and this is also out overseas. So it's not we just don't. It's not only clients that are also in the U.S. too, but they're based in the U.S. but they also operate outside. So we're looking at this competitive landscape. Like, okay, we're about to tap into a market that is unsaturated but also unaware. That's why there's no competition. So it's like, okay, how are we going to build awareness? And when I'm thinking about this, especially when we look at the topic today, GEO is where this comes into play, because GEO is generative engine optimization, right? it's pretty much like the way, technically, let me say it this way. It's like how AI models like ChatGPT, Perplexity, how do they understand summaries that can actually connect back to you as a citation, which is what I was talking about before. So if you say, hey, what is the difference between a cake and a funnel cake or something like that, you're going to get a response, but it's going to be off a citation on a website. So if your website is the citation that they cite, then that's where it becomes a trust benefit, because GEO is heavily based on trust. Like if Perplexity, ChatGPT, or any other AI model suggests something to you right now, the trust people are having with AI responses are close, I would say near to as close as someone as a best friend, because you're getting responses from Siri, Apple Intelligence, from Google Home, you're getting it from Siri, Alexa, you're getting it from these platforms, and you're gaining more information. So the answer to your question, Jason, is it's not like they're not in competition. They still are when you look at the semantics, because there's macro and there's micro and there's macro. So when I'm looking at the macro, yeah, there's no competition. But micro, they could be places that could actually work to their advantage, because now they actually have connections with people they can work semantically. So when it comes to competition, I'm thinking from competition from a secondary perspective, because yeah, you may not have a primary target, but you have a secondary target. You might have a tertiary target. So for you, if I know, okay, for them, they're dealing with, real estate, the next thing is like, okay, secondary target market would be water companies, right? Water companies for real estate, for buildings. The next thing I'll think about is, where's the next home supply, or where's the next furniture store? So I'm not just looking at the real estate that they have a license to build. I'm thinking about the semantics around it, the psychological framework behind it. And those are the questions that you answer on your website, which now gives you the authority as a niche expert to now exemplify what you actually do. That's now when you introduce your product, because you can't say, hey, buy this product today because we do SEO for you. Great. Okay. Everybody does SEO, but why me or why you? So that qualification comes from answering questions frequently that are recent and that are also relevant, that when somebody is looking for that response, they're finding you in that resource. So with GEO, it's more of generative, because it says generative. So it's pretty much AI's information about us. Like how much does AI know about it? Because traditional SERP, which is search engine, let me say this, search engine results pages, you know how we used to say, oh, rank number one, rank number two. That's how it used to be done. But now it's more of a conversational style. So you can say, hey, Siri, hey, Alexa, I'm looking for sushi, but not like about less than 5 miles away. And do they open at 9 p.m., and they have a rooftop? Like that's a very specific question. So when you now get a response and your website, your business, your operations are within that capacity to actually deliver that information back, and you're actually indexed into the system, then that's where you now become the source. You now become the authority. You become the person of authority that now actually answers that question. Because most people will say, oh yeah, I'll just answer these questions from Ethio, and then answer the questions and call it a day. It's going to get smarter, because we're in a very early stage right now. But the earlier you're able to, how they say the earliest bird catches a worm? That's how it is in this AI game right now. Because if you're able to catch the worm early, meaning that you're able to catch the phrase early, catch the word early, catch the proof of concept early, meaning that you have to write content, not just one. Gone are the days when you just write one article and rank. You need now at least two, three, four, five. You need even more than that if you want to really, really go into it, because you have a content pillar and then you have content clusters. So those clusters are semantically placed within the pillar. So when you have a pillar, like in your house, you have a pillar. In between your pillar could be a lampstand, it could be a hammock, it could be anything, right? But there's going to be something that's going to connect the two together semantically, that's going to make your house a home. So when you use that same concept, it brings in that desire for you to now actually have content on your website that's going to give you that experience. Now, SXO is search experience optimization, right? That's based on what happens after they click. Does it load? That's technically like your bounce rate. If your bounce rate is already low before XXO, then no, it's not going to work for you. But if you've always been popping up, showing up consistently, putting it out there. It's a good way for you to think about Google's algorithm as a way to detect whether a user is going to actually make that experience worth it or not. Because experience is number one on Google's EEAT. It's experience, then expertise, then authority, and then trust. If that experience is terrible, you're not going to go back. If you had a bad day at Disney, that's a bad day at Disney, and that's not a good thing, because this is not known for a bad experience. So when you start asking yourself the question, did I give my customer, my visitor, a good experience? Hello, welcome, good morning. Or did you just ignore them and just every time they walked up to you, that happened? That's not going to be a good experience. You want somebody to feel connected. You want them to feel like, okay, it made sense. Even the frequency, if you hear those two sounds, one of them has a lower frequency, another has a higher frequency. So, and I'm also a musician too. So I play the drums and self-taught, and I'm also very big on sound and sonic waves. So when I think about the sonic vibe, when you now write or say words, or how you pronounce words, or even how you ask whichever search engine it is, your volume, your semantics, and also the sentimental value of what you're asking is also going to affect the answer you get. If you're asking a negative question, you're going to get a negative response. If you ask a positive question, you're going to get a positive response. If you ask a neutral question, you're going to get a neutral response. So you also need to know how these sentimental values are applying, because you have to think about your power words, your emotional words. Do you have words in between the words? How do these words make sense for you for that reason? So this is all these words that you're hearing today: ASO, SEO, AIO, GEO, AEO, and SXO. They're all the same thing, right? SEO is search engine optimization. AEO is answer engine optimization, right? You're asking Siri a question, answer engine, answer, question, answer, response. That's it. So think about it like the featured snippets of the Google search results. Now that's your answer engine, right? So if you don't have frequently asked questions on your website, then you can't be in that answer engine response system, because the questions that people are answering are in form of questions that people have responded to in form of text or video or voice. That's where you're able to now use a podcast and really build it out that way. And that's where the rise of zero-click search is coming to base, right? It's no longer about traffic, it's about trust, right? Yeah, traffic is great, but I'd rather have 100 trusted people in my network than 1,000 traffic visitors a day. Because I know those 100 can get me another 100, that can give me another 100, and to the compound of 100, to the power of 100, you're always going to be winning. So think about trust as opposed to just traffic. Because some say, yeah, I have low impressions, but imagine if those low impressions actually lead to high conversions. We don't think about that too. So don't count anybody out. When you see 5 impressions, don't say, yeah, 5 impressions. Hey, those are 5 people that could change your life, that you could change their life. So just think about it from that long-term perspective as opposed to just clicks and impressions
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah. One quick follow up. So this is so much. You are, you know, you sound like the domain expert in all of this, and that's why I like learning from you. It does seem like a lot, right? Even for me, and I've been, learning about all of these different things for a long time, or a couple decades, right? But it seems like it's a lot, so that like you just not something you just start, and then because it's always advancing, you always have to, right, you're saying, like, kind of maintaining the depth, like not just doing it once, but say you have more articles in an area, by the time, like, you have to keep putting out content that is valuable. So I'm kind of wondering, because I believe in counting the cost of doing that. I'll give this example. Like in high school, the big thing was records, and I don't know if you're from my generation, but vinyl, right? So in grade 9, some guys started DJing, getting records, and it was a big thing. Everybody started doing it, and I counted the cost at the end, and I said, do I want to stay up to date? And always, because something comes out every week, if you're going to be playing at a party, you need to have the new stuff. And I was like, I'm going to university, and I don't want to be a DJ. I don't. I'm going to fall behind because I'm not going to want to keep up. So I counted, and in grade 9, a lot of people started, and then some of them continued in grade 10, and then more of them dropped off. By grade 12, I just remember there were only 2 guys. And I counted the cost right from the beginning of grade 9. You know how many records I bought? Not a one. Not one. When I hear about all of this, I'm like, am I going to optimize my site for all of it? By the time I think people would start recognizing it, and I'm keeping up to date on it, I feel like I'm retired. I don't feel like starting. I think that it's gonna be like the records, and I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm not gonna start. But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, this is what I think, and I'll just say it in one sentence: we have to evolve so that we can revolve around the world. Let me say, I don't know how else to put it, but when we do it this way, a lot of things will start to change because it's going to keep changing. Like, oh, do this, do this. It gets tiring. Like you said, it gets frustrating to the point where you don't even want to do it. But if this is something that you can give it to a professional to do, just like you give it to a professional car mechanic or a professional doctor, a professional lawyer, a professional accountant, CPA, you're giving it to a professional SEO expert. So don't think about these things. Think about who you're talking to, and then forget about everything else that's going under the hood. All you want to do is can I drive? Are my tires okay? Is my oil in check? Great. Emissions test check? Great. That's all you're thinking about. If you think about these other things, your mind will go crazy, and we do not want that at all. So this is like a pretty much like a safety alert for everybody, so that you don't think about these things and just have a whole episode, because we don't want that. We just want you to understand what these concepts are. Yeah, we don't want no problems at all, but we want to make sure that you're aware of it. So when you hear it again or you see it somewhere on the internet, you're not confused and you're not like, another one, another SEO. What's that SEO term? No, these are all the same thing. AIO is AI optimization. That's it. So once you create these things, that's how you're able to create them and have a long-term base. So I'm really happy that we were able to cover this today. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about ready to dominate AI search results. SEO explained. We're going to dive deep into that in the marketing club as well. So I really appreciate every question that has come in today, and also the search engine journal I talked about. The link is also in the chat so that you can also click that as well and, have a great time at it as well. But if you have more questions, if you want to connect with me and have a more direct response based on your website, your brand, your business, click the link above or click the link in the description, and that way you can have a complimentary SEO discovery call with me, and we can talk about it and make sure in 30 minutes we understand what we're doing, so that when you leave that call, we leave better than we came, and we're able to understand concepts that actually make you save money and time and energy from all this noise going on in the world right now. So we have bigger fish to fry, and we want to make sure that we're all mentally sane and greatly appreciated by what we do, because we all deserve to win at the top. So thank you so much, Trisha. Thank you so much, John, Peter, Jason, Jamila, Dima, Sack, Shay, Wendy, Nikki, Yori, Mrs. Christine, Jody, Ikwa, Marcus, Lee, Arroya, Antonetta, Audrey, Petros, Rebecca. Thank you so much for being here. Does anyone on stage want to say anything before we go?
Hey, Favor, just quickly, I wanted to go back to what you said about rewriting articles and stuff. I think that is an amazing suggestion. People are growing just like we're growing, and we're going to meet them in different places in their life. So I think it's great that you talked about that pickup, about meeting people in different stages and places in their lives. So I just wanted to bring that up again. Thank you for that. It's a great suggestion and a topic to go on another day. So thanks for suggesting that. I'm gonna go now.
You're
Thanks.
welcome, Trisha. I appreciate you for that feedback. Yes, we all need to just, rinse and repeat, but also get better. I'm really excited. I can't wait to connect with you all. So have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you guys all tomorrow. If you're not going to be here and I don't see you later on, have a happy 4th of July week, and God bless you all. Take care, and I'm going to see you guys soon. Bye for now.